Welcome back to the Aussie Shed, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Project Fairlady. Now, I must say, folks, I'm a little bit sad at the moment. If you're a follower of the channel, you'll know in the last episode I finished all of the rear end of the car up. But now, unfortunately, I'm back dealing with all the old, busted crap in the front of the Fairlady. So let's go over and have a look. So you can see, folks, I'm getting ready for engine out time, you know. I've removed a lot of stuff already. Down here it's all pretty clear. You can see the radiator and the air conditioning condenser and, you know, various bits and pieces and hoses and clips and all that friggin' crappy blue vacuum lines and stuff are gone. And plus, oh, mate, what a mess. What a mess this thing was, honestly. The one thing that's made it a bit easier for me is probably only 50% of the bolts that hold everything in have been there. And the remaining 50% of the bolts are either loose or they're broken. So, you know, thanks guys. Jesus Christ, I tell you folks, I've never seen so many vacuum lines on an engine. There are vacuum lines running everywhere on this thing. All the ones that you can see, previous owners have replaced with blue silicon lines, which just look, I don't know, I don't like them. But everywhere where you can't get to that easy, there's old, brittle, cracked lines everywhere. Like, really ridiculous stuff. One thing of note that I've already uncovered, when I bought this vehicle, I was told that it had, amongst other things, BDE adjustable cam gears, because it supposedly has JWT cams in it, which it does have a very lumpy idle, so fingers crossed, I'm hoping that the cams are real. But yeah, no cam gears, no adjustable cam gears, just stock standard cam gears. So it's like, well, that's great, isn't it? So the bullshit's already starting to roll out of the thing. But folks, I can't say I didn't expect it, you know. I really can't say I didn't expect it. And I'm not blaming the guy I bought the car off, because as far as I'm concerned, he knew very little about cars, and I think he was probably bullshitted too about the specs of the car on all levels as well. I'm still fingers crossed for the engine. Everything so far points to the engine being rebuilt. I did actually make contact with the previous owner who had most of this work done. And, you know, even he doesn't really seem that knowledgeable. I think he had someone to sort of do it for him, but he did put a lot of money into this engine. So it's got to have gone somewhere, but it obviously didn't go into the cam gears. And plus, who knows what's happened to it since then as well, you know. Various things might have been taken off it. You know, it's obviously been in and out of quite a few workshops. So as I say, you know, I'm working towards engine out now. I've got a lot of the front suspension and stuff apart as well. And I'm just working my way through. I'm currently, as you can see over there, I'm stripping off all the wiring looms. Wiring looms are just crusty, brittle, old. Ugh. And all the connectors have really seen better days, folks. So it looks like I'm going to have to, you know, do some serious work on the wiring loom, whether that's either building a custom loom or getting a factory replacement loom and modifying it. I did notice, as I mentioned, a lot of the earth connectors were just missed on this thing. So many clamps on vacuum lines and hoses and stuff were just not there. Hoses just pushed onto things, you know. And, yeah, there's just stuff not connected, and it's just, oh, such a nightmare. Such a nightmare. I really feel for any unsuspecting person who buys a vehicle like this and believes what they're told at the time of sale and expects an old vehicle like this to actually be any kind of reliable. Like, there's no way this thing could have been reliable in the state that it's been in. Well, you've seen even just with the rear axle assembly, you know, with the state of the wheel bearings and all the various bits and pieces in there, and the fuel system in the back of the car, how dodgy it all was. Well, mate, I think this engine bay and stuff is going to take dodgy to a new level, but I guess we'll see. So the only way to find out, folks, is just to rip everything out of it, assess it all, and then, you know, friggin' start again. So wish me luck, folks, as I delve deeper and deeper to the point where we pull the motor and box out and then just strip this whole front out. Get rid of all the wiring looms, all the piping and everything, so that we can take all this back to sort of bare metal and start with repainting this whole engine bay area and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, so that we can then start rebuilding things as we go. So I'll get into it, folks. I'll turn the camera off because there's nothing worse than just watching someone just pull standard filthy dirty crap apart, and believe me, folks, It is dirty, 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 dirty. Here you go. I pulled the power steering pump and reservoir off, and there was so much oil and crap in around this area and down underneath the car relating to the power steering setup. One of the main pressure lines had been fitted with the washers on the banjo bolts on one side of the banjo bolt. So there was two washers on one side of the banjo and no washer on the other. So no matter how much you tightened it, it always just leaked. Things like that all through the car. Just stuff that looks like it's been assembled by a complete moron. And that's not a joke, folks. I'm not just trying to create controversy here, folks. That is dead set the way it is. So I'll shut up now. I'll just start pulling stuff apart. I'll turn the camera off and I'll come back when there's a little bit more done. So I'll see you shortly. Right, folks, back again just for a little bit of a word of warning from Trevor. Now, you often hear people talk about not using too much Celastic and stuff when you assemble anything in an engine, and this is why. Have a go at this stuff. Like, it's just everywhere. It is just sitting everywhere, just waiting to come away and go through the engine. No idea how much of this crap has been through the engine. I'd say probably everywhere where there's no Celastic is because it's come away and gone through the engine. This is a sign that the engine has been assembled by an absolute moron, at least this part of it. And this is your upper plenum here, folks, exactly the same deal. You can see there is just silicone, little silicone flaps. You can see how loose that is sitting there, like it's not going to take a lot for that to sort of come away. Look at it. Go through the engine. It's just absolutely everywhere. Yeah, pretty gross really. So there it is, folks. You've seen it in the flesh, what people always warn you about. This is what happens when fucking brainless idiots work on your engine. Okay, the teardown continues. This is our driver's side intake pipe. This feeds all the way through to your air cleaner and goes to the intake side of your turbo. Now, you can have a go at this. There's a massive hole ripped in it just here, and it's sort of broken all the way up. You can see all the wires started to come out of it and how it's held on there. It's just an absolute mess. So this had a big gaping hole in the side of it. Fortunately, the map sensors have been deleted quite a few years ago on this car, and it was running off a map sensor. Otherwise, the car basically probably wouldn't have even run, or run very badly, due to having a hole like this. It's always a massive problem, intake leaks, if your car runs off map sensors. But this isn't due to really, well, it's partially due to the age of the component, but most of it is due to the quality of the workmanship where this has been connected, because this is actually connected to a modified part. As I've mentioned, this thing has GD 2860 turbos on it, and I'll show you what's been done in order to make this all fit. So if we look down in here, folks, you can see someone's welded this piece here onto the front of the turbo, onto the snout or the intake of the turbo. It looks like a section from a donut, you know. And the problem is they've welded it in on the wrong angle. It's aimed into the chassis here, and there's a big wear mark in the chassis on the side here, where that pipe that was connected to it has been rubbing away like that, and you can see the amount of just grit. This is just gritty, sandy crap all around this thing that's just been constantly being sucked into that turbocharger there. So I guess we'll see what condition the compressor wheel and everything is on that when we get it all apart. But yeah, this is the typical crap that you find, folks, when you start doing a big autopsy like this and tearing something right down. Poor workmanship, and the result of that is usually component failure, which you can sort of see firsthand here. You know, I'm obviously going to have to get all this apart, cut that friggin' piece off the front of the turbo, or who knows, I may end up even replacing the turbos. But we'll see. Like, it's just a shame when things are done so poorly. that it creates so many problems, and then people haven't picked up these issues and there's no maintenance being done, and you end up with a vehicle that just runs like a pig, has so many issues as far as reliability and everything goes, and it's just not a pleasure, you know. It's just not a pleasure for whoever owns it. And basically it ends up being sold and then sold again and all that sort of stuff, which is what's happened to this thing. Alright, if I find anything more interesting, I'll turn the camera back on and show you guys, but I'll see you in a bit. So I've just got the alternator out, folks, and as far as I'm aware, it was still charging, but it's in very poor condition. Here we go. I'll move the camera in close, so hopefully you can pick up the audio. Listen to this. She is rooted. So yes, I imagine this was making a bit of noise in amongst everything else. Like I say, a bit hard to tell what's going on. Not that familiar with the vehicle. Had a pretty loud exhaust and all that sort of stuff. But I guarantee that that was making some sort of a racket. And it would absolutely be on its last legs. It seems to be the original alternator. It has the correct ID for this vehicle. Yeah, so looks like I might be doing a DIY alternator rebuild video in the coming weeks. I'll just see if I can get parts for this, which I'm pretty sure I can, and I'll tear it down for you guys and I'll show you how to rebuild an alternator. But there's something even more important about to happen. I'm about to break out the most powerful tool in the mechanic's arsenal, folks. The compression tester. So even though you can see all the wirings off the engine, it still is able to be turned over, so I can run the compression test on it. I have taped up, you know, the connections where the alternator came off and stuff, so there's no power leakage from the battery to anything that's going to arc out. And yeah, I guess we're about to find out what the compression is on all the cylinders. Let's give it a go. Okay. Number 150. Hello. Number 3, 150. Okay. Hello. Number 5, 170. Hello. Number 2, 145. Hello. Hello. Number 4, 149. Okay. Number 6, 144. Thank you, darling. Alright folks, so that's where we are with it. I'll just run you quickly through it again. 150, 150, 170, 145, 149, 144. So they're all very close, other than this one, which is high at 170. You know, why that is, I really have no idea at this stage, but at least it gives us an idea of what's going on with each cylinder. Now, all spark plugs also look pretty good. If anything, all the plugs were generally a bit rich looking, but The car hadn't really been driven. It had been spending a lot of time idling and stuff, you know, being moved on enough car trailers and all this sort of business. But generally, a very rich look to the plugs. So I'd say the tune was quite rich. But from that, at least we appear to have 6 fully functioning cylinders, which is great. Yeah, we're just going to have a bit of a look and see what the go is with those compression readings. But that's something for the future. Pretty happy with that. We'll delve more into all of that once we get the engine out of the car and get it on the stand and start pulling stuff apart and having a bit of a look at things. So, I guess we better get all the rest of the stuff disconnected and get this bloody engine and transmission out. Alrighty. Right folks, just finalising pulling out all the front suspension here. I'll just give you a bit of a squiz at the upper control arms. Now these guys are very worn, folks. See that movement there? You can hear all the noise. Other side's exactly the same. There we go. Actually this one's probably a little bit worse. Being on the passenger side of the car, like the side of the edge of the road, it probably gets a little bit more knocked around, you know. You can see these look original. They're very crusty looking. I'd say they probably are the original ones out of it. Doesn't exactly lead to precise vehicle control, folks, this sort of thing. Like you can imagine when you're accelerating and braking, they'll be jamming forwards and backwards, which is going to change caster in particular on the vehicle. Well, it's going to actually change everything. Anyway, not sure how easy it is to spot this movement with the suspension assembled, but I imagine it's not that hard. Anyway, folks, just something to look out for if you have a Z32. Yeah. Alright, we're just about ready to pull the motor, folks. I'll keep going. Time has come, folks. I think I'm ready to finally drop the motor and gearbox out through the bottom here. I am very unfamiliar with this vehicle. I think I've got everything disconnected, but like I say, first time pulling this thing out. It's a bit of a grey area. I'll see how I go. I think I have, but you never know your luck, folks. So if I get hung up on anything, I'll just keep going. Well, I won't keep going. I'll unhook it and I'll keep going. Ooh, she's very tight, folks. Very, very tight. Unfortunately, these aftermarket turbos are just not making it fun. You got to wrangle it around the steering shaft too, folks. Another little tricky area that I've been dealing with. I think we're pretty good, folks. I think we might just need to pull him forward a bit. Just try and get it off the heater hoses around the back, which I think I've just done. Seems pretty good. Alright folks, I think this could be it. We're home and hosed, folks. How good's that? And there it is, folks, in all its glory. We did it. We bloody well did it. And we didn't break anything. That's a win if you ask me. Alright, so I think we'll end this video here, folks. In the next video, we'll start going over this and having a bit of a look at, you know, what we can use and what we can't use, and, you know, the state of a lot of the stuff, which I can already see quite a lot of things are really badly degraded on this setup. It looks to me like a lot of things were not replaced when the engine was built. Just basic stuff, you know, like turbo lines and stuff. It just, it all looks like it's a bit of a mess anyway. But at least we'll get a good look at it now. We can also get a good look at the engine bay and see where the, you know, see what's been leaking. It's already quite apparent that all the clutch and brake master cylinders have been leaking. There's a lot of surface rust on the firewall and in the front in those areas that's going to have to be taken care of. But that'll all be in the next video. So as always, folks, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Bloody pleasure to have you here. I hope you like our Project Fairlady's going. If you do, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up. And remember, folks, if you want updates on this project, remember to subscribe and hit the bell. And I'll bloody well see you on the next one. Cheers.